Take Care of Your Body by Rye with your host, Rylan Rosano. Eat good to feel good. Stay tuned in to see what's next.
I hope you're smiling because it's me, Rye. Thanks for listening to this new episode of my podcast, and I hope you enjoyed this discussion I had with a dietitian. And remember, if you or someone you love is suffering from an eating disorder, feel free to reach out to the number 1-800-931-2237 because help is always out there. Today I'm with...
Hi, everybody. My name is Mel Wilkinson. I'm a registered dietitian currently working in clinical and private practice, and I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have a conversation with you about one of my favorite topics, which is nutrition. So I first want to ask you, what got you into becoming a registered dietitian?
So it's definitely a whole bunch of little things, and I'm going to apologize now because I'm not a woman of few words. I'm usually pretty long-winded, so I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. But my main stemming from nutrition kind of came from having an eating disorder at a really young age, which I did fully recover from that eating disorder now. But it did turn into disordered eating along the way, which now eventually I am fully free from my eating disorder, like I said. So that's what initially got me into nutrition, is kind of having that struggle with eating and seeing that so many other people are having that struggle too, and really wanting to help people realize that you can have a balanced relationship with food and exercise, and really use it to make you feel really good about yourself rather than having it put you down every day.
Absolutely. You're such a girl boss, and I love that you did that. You turned your pain into passion, and I think that's truly beautiful.
Thank you.
So we're gonna have like a little discussion about nutrition, which I'm sure you love to talk about. It's your
Yes.
probably one of your favorite things as well as mine. So I have a question that I think me and my listeners want to know. What are some common misconceptions about nutrition and dieting that you encounter in your practice?
So the main thing that comes to mind is definitely from a dietitian perspective too, is just everyone thinks you have to be super skinny and eat like only fruits and vegetables and salads to be healthy and thrive, which definitely is not true at all. So I think that's like the biggest thing. First of all, is everyone thinks dietitians and nutritionists, all those kind of people, just want everybody to lose weight and be super skinny. And if you're finding that, then those aren't the kind of people you want to be working with. So I think overall, just like misinformation about like having an all or nothing mindset and having to eat healthy all the time or just never eat healthy, and like having the mindset that you need to be skinny. Those are like the biggest things I see from day to day that a lot of people are kind of leaning towards nutrition wise, which I definitely don't agree with and do not use when I'm practicing as a dietitian.
I don't agree with any of those as well. And I think that's truly important that you're kind of like changing the narrative for what a dietitian is. And as an RD to be, I look up to you so much. So thank
Thank
you
you.
for sharing that. You're such a girl boss. Can you explain the importance of micronutrients and how they contribute to overall health and well-being?
Yes, and I love this question because I feel like, especially today, when I'm seeing general nutrition information online, a lot of people are just pushing like eat protein, eat protein, eat protein. And that's kind of like, yeah, protein's super important for building muscle and longevity in life. However, that's one of the macronutrients, along with carbs and fat, that we definitely need. But it's super important to think about those micronutrients because they do so many different things for us that people don't even think about. Our body needs tons of different vitamins and minerals just to do like the basic necessities of life that are keeping us alive. Like the most generic thing, like growing your hair, skin, and nails. But then the things you don't think about, like your kidneys need certain nutrients to properly detox your body. And like we love to say, oh, like you don't have to worry about detoxing, your kidneys do it for you. But you still got to think about the fact that you've got to give your kidneys all the proper nutrients it needs to do its proper functioning. So just a lot of things like that we don't think about from day to day that our bodies are doing to keep us alive. So it's really our duty to give us those micronutrients too that it needs to do its proper functioning.
I absolutely love that. And I feel like the human body is one of the most important tools as long as we have the proper, things to help manage it. I think that it can be key to success. So
Yes.
thank you so much for sharing that. Another question that I have is how can individuals navigate conflicting information about nutrition and media online? Since you kind of just mentioned that a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, this is a topic that I could go on and on about because nowadays you literally can spend 1 minute on social media and you'll probably see something that's not true. Unfortunately, because anything can be posted online. And as a dietitian, I really try my best to stay away from that kind of information because I'll find myself going on like a 20-minute rant in the comment section about how this is wrong. So I do try to control what kind of content I put on my feed, which is definitely one of the biggest things I would recommend other people do. So, if you're seeing someone that's calling themselves like, one of the biggest buzzwords lately has been like crunchy and all that kind of stuff. Like there's certain words that people are using that it's kind of like should stop you in your tracks and think a little bit like, okay, crunchy and all these kind of extra words probably aren't backed by science as much as someone that's a dietitian or another like and there is other than dietitians, there's other professionals that we can get nutrition information from. I'm not saying dietitians are our only source of nutrition information, but you do want to make sure that first of all, you're fact checking as much as you can, which is hard because you see one thing on social media about how this green powder is going to change your entire life, which is probably not true. So I would think my biggest recommendations would be checking who you're getting your sources from, avoiding like the all or nothing mindset that a lot of I feel like nutrition people have these days. Like this one thing entirely changed my life. Like that right there is a key word of, okay, I need to fact check this or I need to do a little more research before I jump on this bandwagon. Did that answer your question fully? I feel like I went on
That
a
did.
rant.
You did, and I love that you said that you go on a 20-minute tangent in the comment section. So me as well. So, and we love you for that. You're dedicated and you want to make sure the right information's out there. And I feel like so many
Mhm.
people spread misinformation or those red flags like, oh, this changed my life. Okay. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
those are the
definitely
kind of things that like you should stop and think like, okay, maybe this isn't true.
So my next question is, in what ways can nutrition impact mental health and cognitive function?
So again, another topic that's super important to me, especially working in mental health, currently at a mental health hospital, and also just through like private practicing people that have eating disorders or disordered eating habits. I don't think people realize how much food can impact your brain, whether or not you have preoccupations about food or you barely even think about food, it really is impacting your brain, which brings me back to like the micronutrient aspect of food too. It's like if we're constantly eating foods that are not high in nutritional value, we're not really giving our brain the fuel it needs to work effectively. So that's kind of the cognitive piece of that is like if we're not waking up and eating a really good balanced breakfast and giving ourselves a ton of nutrients to start the day, even if we're not hungry and you're not thinking about it, if you're not doing that basic thing and giving your body all that fuel it needs to make your brain turn on in the morning, you're not going to have that cognitive function throughout the day to do all the important things you need to do. So like if you go to work and immediately like you start to feel like, oh, I'm so tired and lethargic or my brain's foggy, but you don't feel hunger pains. A lot of people say they're not hungry in the morning. It's still your body telling you like you need fuel. Hunger cues aren't the only thing we need to rely on to give our body the fuel it needs. And I always like to say, feel good, you'll feel good. So it's just
I
really
love that.
important to so it's just really important to always be thinking about, even if you're not hungry, that you need to give your body fuel. And when for other than the cognitive side of that, like the mental health side of that, for the people that do struggle with eating disorders and disordered eating, like food can be extremely preoccupying your entire mental being. And I've been in that place before. And anyone that's in that place, I want nothing but healing for you because it is extremely exhausting to always be thinking about, like, well, how many calories are in this? How many grams of protein have I eaten today? Have I eaten enough carbs? Have I eaten too many carbs? Like just thinking about those things all the time, you're really missing out like on a lot of aspects of life. Just like I love romanticizing the little things, just like even the littlest thing that you're not thinking about, enjoying dinner after a long day and talking with your significant other. You're not even thinking about that and the value in the conversation. You're more thinking about like, oh, well, did I eat enough? Did I eat too much? Am I, all those things. So it's just
Yeah.
really important to really work on your relationship with food because of how much it has an impact on your mental health if you're in that kind of place. And for sure, like I said, I've been there. I don't wish that on my worst enemy. So just really important to always keep yourself in check and know how your relationship with food is.
Absolutely. Thank you for spreading awareness on that. I feel like it's something that's so important, and there's so much to life more than food and how much
Mhm.
calories are in something. And, you can really enjoy life when you change your mindset a little bit with the help of especially a registered dietitian for sure.
Yeah.
Dietitians are our besties. That's what I always like
Yes.
to say. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, we
Thank
literally went to school to help people feel good and feel good, not to tell you to get skinny. So,
No, I hate that perspective of things. I'm like, a
Mhm.
dietitian definitely does way more than that. It's not even about,
Yes.
losing weight or even gaining weight. It's about healing your relationship with food and nutrition, and whatever comes from that is what's meant for you in the long-term goal.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So I love this question because it's something I feel like I struggle with a little bit, and I'm sure a lot of my viewers do as well. Do you have any tips for simplifying grocery shopping and meal planning to make healthy eating more manageable in a busy lifestyle?
Yeah, so I love meal prepping and grocery shopping, which I feel like I'm kind of the oddball out. Like I will spend like my Sunday all day just meal prepping and grocery shopping if I could. And I fully understand that not everybody likes to do that. So I think taking a step back sometimes and allowing myself to do like the really simple basic recipes just to show people that like it doesn't have to be hard and confusing. It can be like as simple as putting everything in a bowl and throwing it in the oven and then you have 5 meals for the week. So I think like the biggest tips in terms of meal prepping that I have would be first of all, like learn how to cook a grain, learn how to cook a vegetable, and learn how to cook a protein. Like those three things, are going to help you so much with just building a simple meal. So get yourself a pot, cook a whole bunch of rice, get a pan, put 5 chicken breasts on it, and get another pan and put carrots and broccoli with some olive oil, salt, and pepper, throw it in the oven, and you have 4 meals for the day. So like it really doesn't have to be that hard and complicated. And of course, I do love like a 20-step recipe just because I love cooking. Like I said, I'm a little bit weird in that aspect.
I love
but
cooking too. You're not weird. You're not weird. Mhm.
But yeah, just learning how to cook a grain, a veg, and a protein is kind of like the core value of learning how to meal prep. Like it really doesn't have to be, like I said, 20 different ingredients. And then with that being said, like then starting to experiment in the terms of like the really simple things you can add to those meals. So like even if you don't want to roast in the oven, you can literally buy frozen vegetables and heat them in the microwave and put them in each bowl. Or you can do both because I always am a proponent of adding more vegetables. You can buy a bag of frozen edamame and just add it into things you're already eating. The flavor profile of things, like people a lot of times say, well, I don't know how to season my food, or I don't want to just eat broccoli, rice, and chicken. Buy yourself a teriyaki sauce. Like the sauces and the dips that are making you enjoy the food are not taking away from the nutritional value of the food you're eating. And of course, there is healthier sauce options and easy swaps you can make, which I'll kind of touch on in the grocery aspect of this. But just in the basics, like if you're going to eat, the only way that you're going to eat a vegetable is if you put ranch dressing on it, like put the ranch dressing on it. That's what I tell my patients all the time too, because I have so many patients that are like, well, I need cheese or ranch. And I'm like, I'll send you cheese and ranch. You got to eat your vegetables.
Absolutely.
So then in terms of like the grocery shopping aspect of these kind of things, super overwhelming nowadays because the grocery store has so many different options of everything. So just like my simple tips to kind of comparing two different products with each other. Like let's say we're trying to decide between two different types of Greek yogurt. The main things I would be looking at are the protein content and the fiber content and the sugar content. So something like yogurt, you're not really thinking about fiber, but protein, you want to look at which product has more protein. They're probably going to be similar because all Greek yogurt has the same. However, when you're thinking about different fat contents and things like that, the protein can vary. So I normally try to pick one that's higher in protein. And then in terms of the sugar, nowadays we have products that have like 30 grams of added sugar and no grams of added sugar. So I really encourage people to look at the added sugar part of the label because you really do want to try to reduce your added sugar intake, especially if you're like me and you know you're going to be eating a lot of chocolate treats throughout the day. I would much rather get my sugar from the chocolate treat than my Greek yogurt, especially if the Greek yogurt with no added sugar, it's going to taste just as good as the one with 30 grams of added sugar. Um, and then, of course, like another really big tip, other than looking at the food labels themselves with grocery shopping, would be like having a plan. Like, don't go into the grocery store without any clue what you're buying, because then you're either going to spend way too much money or you're not going to buy enough for the week. So, I always like at the beginning of the week on Sundays, I write down what things I'm going to be meal prepping for breakfast, lunch, and then a few dinner ideas. I try to stick to like 3 or 4 dinner ideas because I usually have leftovers. So there's no reason to like have a whole bunch of leftovers and not eat them. And then writing out all the things you need for each one. And that's your grocery list. And trying as hard as you can to stick to that grocery list so you're not like going crazy and buying a million things. So those are just some like really off the top of my head tips that I have. But I do post a lot of like meal prepping and stuff on my Instagram page too.
You're so awesome. Everyone should go check out her Instagram. Do you want to plug your Instagram right now so they can go check out what you post?
Oh, yes. So my Instagram is underscore well by Mel, WELLBYMELL.
And she's awesome and she posts literally the most amazing stuff. And I knew you were big into meal prepping. So that's why I asked that question. I knew you're the queen of meal prepping, so you would have definitely a good answer for that one. My next question, and those are awesome tips, by the way. Thank you so much for sharing those.
Yeah.
My next question is, can you provide guidance on portion control, mindful eating practices to kind of help maintain a healthy diet while managing time constraint?
Yeah. So I'm sure like a lot of people have already heard like intuitive eating and food freedom, and all those words right now are kind of like super, like buzzy words. And while I agree with intuitive eating and I agree with food freedom, I think it's also important to acknowledge that sometimes that's not feasible for everybody, especially someone that's really busy and not thinking about food a lot and not thinking about like, am I hungry? Am I full? Have I eaten enough throughout the day? And they're just always on the go. Like it's just not something that comes to mind right away. It's like thinking about, oh, am I meeting my hunger fullness? Like, what are my hunger and fullness cues right now? And while that would be great for everybody, it's just not feasible. So I think like the main tips I have in terms of portion control and more mindful eating would be like really being intentful. I don't know if that's the right word. Mindful when you're eating about like trying to slow down and really make eating like the eating experience is the experience of the moment. Like we're not eating while we're trying to do 7 other things. We're just eating and like, of course, like chatting with somebody or just like writing down thoughts to yourself. But just really focusing on like the eating part of eating, like, am I chewing my food up and swallowing it before I put another bite of food in my mouth? Like that one's crazy. People don't realize like when they're eating, they're literally chewing a bite of food and they're already putting another bite of food in. And it does take like, I think it's like 20 minutes from your brain and your stomach to connect and tell you that you're full. So just like the act of slowing down can really help prevent like overeating. And then in terms of like being busy and on the go, like those kind of things, again, like you might not feel hungry throughout the day, but it's really important to still have the mentality of like, I have to eat throughout the day. I have to eat a good breakfast. I have to eat something between my morning and my night. I have to eat snacks. I need to eat something before I work out. All those things are super important. Even if you're not hungry, to still remind yourself to give your body fuel. And of course, that goes back to the meal prepping aspect and like the grocery shopping aspect of like having snacks always ready to go and like taking food with you so that you're not like out hungry and then having to like do something quick. Like, not that I'm totally against fast food in general, but eating like out every single day for lunch is definitely not going to be the most healthful thing for your body. So really like focusing on that meal prep and stuff is really helpful when it comes to like making decisions about when eating, portion control on the go and stuff like that.
I definitely agree with you. And I could literally listen to you talk all day. You're so inspiring and you're giving such amazing tips and information. So thank you for that. How can one approach social events or dining out in a way that allows them to enjoy themselves without feeling guilty or restricted?
Yeah, so I think this one is something that's really near and dear to my heart because of my past struggles with eating disorders and being like scared to go out to eat or spending my entire like ride to the restaurant like looking up the calorie information of every single food on the menu. And I think like when at the end of the day, like I said, you don't want to be eating out all the time. However, I'm very passionate about the fact that like because I only eat out probably like once a week, if that, sometimes not even that much. Like I'm gonna order what I want off the menu. I'm not gonna like calorie count and pick apart things just to make sure I'm staying on my diet or whatever. So like really being present, I think in the moment of like the going out to eat part is more important than thinking about like, am I still being healthy? You know, but of course, I'm a dietitian and I still have to give recommendations of like how to eat out a little bit better. So I think the main thing I like to think about when eating out, like I said, you do want to order off the menu what you really want. So, like, perfect example, last week I went out to dinner with my friends or lunch with my friends, and I really was craving pizza. So I was like, I'm getting a pizza. However, I'm like, okay, so pizza's going to give me carbs, it's going to give me fat from the cheese, and I'm going to have maybe like 5 vegetables, little vegetable pieces on my pizza. I could probably really benefit from also having a salad. So I'm giving myself what I really want in the moment, but also what my body needs, which is some extra healthy fiber and carbs from those vegetables, and of course, tons of micronutrients. So just thinking about like, I really want the fried chicken tenders. Totally fine. Get the fried chicken tenders, but maybe you're not like dying for the french fries. So just switch the french fries to like a baked potato or switch the french fries to like a starchy vegetable like corn or something like that. So just like the little swaps of like you're still giving your body really what you need, but also what you're craving, but also giving your body what it really needs in the moment is super important.
That is something I also believe in, and I like to preach on my recipes page. So I feel like you just read
Mhm.
my mind, and I was like, well, but I couldn't
We're
agree more.
definitely similar.
Yes, we definitely are like the same person or something. You're like me in the future. Once you become a dietitian. Um, so I do have another question that kind of goes into that. Are there certain food swaps or alternatives that can satisfy cravings for less nutritious options while still supporting a healthy eating pattern? I know you mentioned a few. If you have a little more you want to touch on, I'd love that.
Yeah. So again, I think it really comes back to like what your body's craving and what your body's needing. So there is tons of swaps that I do make, like, and I try to explain why I make the swaps I make when I'm posting recipes online. Can you tell I talk with my hands? I know no one else can see my hands, but I'm
I
like,
do that. I do that too. Don't worry.
But I do make a lot of swaps, so I try to explain all of them. So just like off the top of my head, I'm gonna kind of just go through some of the swaps I make and why I make them. And then when I would not make a swap. So peanut butter is like a huge one. So peanut butter, like 2 tablespoons is pretty calorie dense. And it's giving you like a lot of fat, some protein, those kind of things. So like I know a lot of people are really scared to eat peanut butter because of that. However, like peanut butter is, we need to realize, is also giving us lots of those healthy fats we're talking about. It is giving us some protein. It's going to keep us full and satisfied longer. So it's not something that I'm necessarily swap out. However, I do use powdered peanut butter sometimes because that's basically peanut butter with all the fat removed. So it's just leaving the protein. So if I'm making like peanut butter toast and I'm putting peanut butter on it, I'm going to have real peanut butter because my main fat source in that is the peanut butter. But if I'm making like a smoothie and I'm going to be adding like tons of different fruits and vegetables and dairy products and chia seeds, but I want it to be peanut butter flavored, I might just add some of that peanut butter powder in because then it's not adding a ton of calories since I'm getting calories from a lot of other spots of that meal. So just thinking about your intention behind the swap is so important. Like healthy ice cream, for example, like if you're really craving like Blue Bunny mint chocolate chip ice cream, and like that's all you can think about. But you buy mint chocolate chip Halo ice cream, Halo top ice cream, like you're probably not going to get the same effect of just eating the Blue Bunny ice cream. So it'd be better to just eat a smaller portion of the Blue Bunny ice cream rather than forcing yourself to eat a whole pint of the Halo top. However, I still love Halo top. You know, like sometimes I'm like, wow, I could really go for like a strawberry Halo top and I want to eat the whole pint. It's not like I'm restricting myself a different kind of ice cream. I'm thinking about like in that moment, this is what would satisfy my body, which is totally fine. So, and like there's other swaps I feel like we can make that aren't even that deep, that don't even make us like think about the swap that we're making because it just tastes the same. So, like, for example, buying lower fat foods sometimes, not all the time. Like, if you're getting fat from another source, using a lower fat version of like the yogurt or the dressing because you're putting avocado on it or something, like you're getting fat from somewhere else, is one of those swaps that's not really gonna make you feel like you're missing out. So those simple swaps, like buying a different lower calorie dressing or buying a higher protein version of your favorite milk or buying Greek yogurt instead of regular yogurt, like those little swaps that are just going to provide a lot more nutrition, are definitely really important to have under your tool belt too when you're trying to live a little bit healthier of a lifestyle.
I love those so much, and I love Halo Top. It's so good, especially the strawberry
Yeah.
flavor, like you said. So I was like, oh my
Mhm.
gosh. And yeah, all of that was so important, and thank you for sharing that and spreading awareness on some healthier swaps people can gravitate towards.
Mhm.
The next question I have is how can one ensure they're getting all the necessary nutrients in their diet when on the go?
Yeah, so this comes back to the last famous words of meal prepping.
Mhm.
It's really important to think about like taking things with you. Like even if I'm just in my car driving around doing errands, like sometimes I forget to bring a snack and it's like, oh my gosh, like I have to go to the grocery store and buy a snack right now. So it's really important to plan ahead. And I think sometimes it can go either way. Like it can be extreme of like you finish eating breakfast and you're already like, well, what's for lunch? So it's always important to check in with yourself of like, is my preoccupation with food because I care about myself or because I'm trying to restrict myself of something? So if you're really like living a busy lifestyle and trying to maintain like that healthy relationship with food, just having those snacks on hand all the time, like protein bars, energy bars. I love the Chomps beef sticks because they don't melt or anything. And then of course there's things that you would need to keep cold, like quick Greek yogurt packs, those kind of things too. But like always having something with you, I feel like it's just kind of like allowing yourself that if you feel hungry, you're going to honor that hunger, is super important. And what was that you said? I think that was a two-part question. I feel like I only answered one part.
Nope, that was it. Oh, wait, maybe the necessary nutrient aspect of it, but I feel like you kind of touched on that.
Yeah, yeah, just like in general, especially like if you know you're gonna be at work all day and then going to the gym, like before the gym, you're gonna need a quick source of carbohydrates. And if you're not going home, you might want to take an energy bar with you. Like that's something I do every day that I don't think about, of like, oh, I'm probably not gonna be hungry before the gym, but I'll definitely still need energy before the gym. So just those little things that you can do to take care of yourself throughout the day are really important if you're running around like crazy all day.
Absolutely. And I think to finish it off, I think this is the best way. What is one thing you want one of my listeners to know about nutrition and about dietitians and just anything in the field in general?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say the biggest thing I want people to know is like what I kind of already said of like, if you really focus on like fueling your body good, you're going to feel good. And it's like, if you're fueling your body good with the intention of like wanting to be healthier and really like focusing on like, how am I feeling when I eat? How is what I'm eating contributing to the well being of my body and making me feel like a happier and healthier person instead of like what I feel like a lot of times people are thinking about how the way they're exercising and eating is going to impact the way they look. I would much rather people think about impacting the way that they're going to feel. So that's like my biggest thing is like at the end of the day, like I want you to be fueling in a way that's going to make you feel really good about your body. And I feel like a lot of dietitians feel the same way of like, we don't want you to only think about your stomach fat or only think about how muscly you are and like all those things. Like we really want you to feel good and feel confident about like fueling your body.
Thank you so much for being here and for answering all my questions and for talking to me today. I really appreciate it. I
Mhm.
feel like we had an amazing conversation that was so important, but also very fun. So thank you so much again. And I truly look up to you and I'm so inspired by you. And I'm so
Oh, thank you
happy
so
that I can
much.
call you a friend and
Mhm.
I truly appreciate you so much. So thank you
Yeah.
so much for joining me.
Yes, I had so much fun talking to you, and I'm so excited for you to be a dietitian too.
Aw, thank you. And as always, to everyone listening, with love, Rye.